We, the humans, are primates. In this video, we will try to understand how we define primates. So what exactly makes a primate a primate? Well, it's not just one single thing you can point to. Nope. It's actually a whole suite of characteristics. Think of them as evolutionary trends. That's the term early primatologists came up with. They basically saw these patterns and used them to connect the dots for our entire biological order. Okay, so we're primates, right? But it's also super helpful to know who our closest living relatives are that aren't primates. And that would be these guys, the tree shrews and the klugos, which you might know as flying lemurs. You know, looking at them gives us some really fascinating clues about our own deep evolutionary history. All right, let's get into it. We're going to break down this whole primate blueprint into 3 big categories. First up, we'll look at their incredible adaptations for getting around. Then we'll talk about a huge shift in their senses. And finally, we'll cover their really unique, kind of slow pace of life. So let's kick things off with the skeleton. Now, think about a horse. It's built for running. Or a bat, totally specialized for flying. Primates, we're different. We have what you'd call a generalized or unspecialized skeleton. And this is key because this versatile setup gives us an amazing range of movement. It's actually the very foundation that way down the line allowed for humans to walk on 2 feet. And a really crucial piece of that skeletal puzzle is the clavicle. You know, your collarbone. This bone is so important. It basically acts like a strut that connects your shoulder blade to your sternum. And what that does is it allows for a huge range of motion in our arms. It's just perfect for swinging, for climbing, for getting around in the complex, 3-dimensional world of the treetops. Okay, I've got a word for you that is absolutely central to understanding what it means to be a primate. And that word is prehensile. All it means is adaptive for grasping. It's that simple. And for primates, both their hands and their feet are totally defined by this incredible ability to grab on and hold tight. So, how do they do it? How do they get that amazing grip? Well, it comes down to 2 key tools. You've got the opposable thumb on the hand, we're all familiar with that one, and then, for most primates, you have an opposable hallux. That's just the fancy word for the big toe. This kind of pincer grip is really the secret sauce for moving securely through the branches. Another big one is having nails instead of claws. See, a flat nail gives you this nice, broad support for the super sensitive pads on our fingertips. But what's really cool is that it's not a totally hard and fast rule. There's some nuance here. While nails are the general trend, some of the older primate groups, the prosimians, actually hold on to a single grooming claw. But the anthropoids, that's monkeys, apes, and yeah, us, we've got only nails. All right, let's shift gears to our next big topic, because this is where things get really interesting. We're going to talk about a fundamental trade-off that happened in the primate sensory toolkit. Basically, primates traded in their sense of smell for a massive upgrade to their sense of sight. And you can literally see this trade-off written all over our anatomy. On the one hand, vision gets this huge boost. We're talking bigger visual areas in the brain, the ability to see in color, and those forward-facing eyes. And then on the other hand, the sense of smell gets dialed way back. That's why you see shorter snouts, a smaller part of the brain for smell, and in a lot of primates, a dry nose. And those forward-facing eyes, they're not just for looks. They give primates something called binocular vision. What happens is the 2 visual fields from each eye overlap, and the brain uses that overlap to calculate distance with incredible accuracy. I mean, this is what gives us amazing depth perception. It's absolutely vital if you're, say, trying to judge the leap to the next branch. Or, as one theory goes, if you're trying to snatch a fast-moving insect right out of the air. You can even see this whole sensory shift just by looking at noses. Check this out. One big group of primates, the haplorhines, that includes tarsiers, monkeys, and us apes, we have simple, dry noses. But the other major group, the strepsirrhines, which includes animals like lemurs, they kept the moist, kind of dog-like nose called a rhinarium. And that's a much more typical trait for mammals, and it really amps up the sense of smell. And what's powering all of these incredible adaptations? Well, it's the primate brain. It's not just that it's big for a body size, though it is. It's that it's also incredibly complex. The cerebral cortex especially. That's the wrinkly outer layer responsible for all the high-level stuff like thinking and memory. It's just way more expanded and intricate in primates. And all that brain power brings us to our final big point, the primate pace of life. See, having a big, complex brain and living in a complex social world, well, that just requires a whole different approach to living, to growing up, and to behaving. You could say that primates really live life in the slow lane. We have longer pregnancies, we have really long childhoods, and we have long lifespans overall. And this super extended period of development is absolutely essential. Why? Because it means there's a much greater reliance on learning things from parents, from the social group, in order to survive. And last but not least, there's a really strong evolutionary push towards being diurnal, which is just a fancy way of saying being active during the day. Now, the very first primates, they were probably small critters running around at night, but most primate groups, including our own, eventually adapted to life in the daylight. And that makes perfect sense, right? It goes hand in hand with that heavy reliance on vision that we were just talking about. In the next video, we will try to understand how we classify primates.